Why do smart, high-income professionals and entrepreneurs fail to achieve financial goals consistently? I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. The reason that most high-income professionals and entrepreneurs fail to achieve financial independence, wealth, and prosperity is because of a simple societal context that puts them in an enemy position. Listen carefully. This is more evident than ever before. Have you ever been around a family member who doesn't make very much money? Maybe they make minimum wage. And they discover that you earn an above average salary or above average income. Maybe you're a sales professional and you broke your first six figures and you're mistakenly at the dinner table say, I broke six figures. I make $110,000 a year. I'm so happy. Let's celebrate. What usually happens? Now, whether we're in the 1950s or the 1970s or the 1990s, this problem is consistent and it has always existed. When one family member kind of gets out ahead of everybody else, the average pulls them back. Oh, well, you must be doing something illegal to be making all that money. Oh, well, you know what? You ought to help the poor more that you've been so fortunate. One of my favorites is, the Lord has blessed you so much. And they almost say, the Lord has blessed you so much and now thou shalt bless me as well, because the next line is very often somebody asking for money. It's the brother-in-law who tries hard but still doesn't get far in life because they haven't put in the preparation that you put in. They haven't invested in the knowledge. They haven't investigated the marketplace to make sure that they're delivering value that the marketplace wants. And while they're very good at the fishing trips they take all the time and very good at staying at home and pretending they're injured, they join the union and the union's fighting for them, but yet they are still falling behind on their bills. They're still unable to do the basic things that are necessary to protect their children's future. They're unable to get good quality health insurance and have been struggling with medical problems. When they find out how fortunate you have been to acquire this wealth and great prosperity, that they want a little bit of it. I've seen situations where an in-law has passed away and an inheritance has come into the family. It's not even your money. It's your spouse's money. And your relatives start showing up. Oh, the Lord's been so good to you. But it's been tough at my house. If only you could lend me $1,000, I'd appreciate it. I'd be such a good help to my family, and you've got so much and we've got so little. Oh, and by the way, if your family's not saying these things, it's society. The whole Occupy Wall Street movement was literally kids with mobile phones and expensive clothing complaining about the big money of Wall Street. Now, granted, some of them look like homeless bums, but they were still taking videos with their smartphones that most of the world doesn't have. And secondly, a quarter of the world is probably digging in mines to get the rare earth metals to put into it. And then these students, if they're Starbucks in hand and their phones in hand, are protesting the great capitalist evils that have enslaved the world when they're literally masters themselves. Now, what do I mean by that? Your mobile phone is full of equipment and devices and things that were put together by slaves. Nike has been caught several times for having children make shoes. Clothing companies from Gap all the way across these popular brands have been in situations where they've had literally slaves on ships making clothing. Anybody who buys or benefits from these products is technically a master. They're creating the demand that ultimately drives the supply, and they are just as guilty as the next person. Yet they protest somebody who has just a little bit more money than they do. I have known families who have lived near poverty all of their life on purpose. And they saved every extra penny they had. See, they weren't taking care of their future as much as their future self. They understood and recognized an obligation they had for their future self, so that today, when they earn their money, they paid $1 to the government, they put $1 in their savings account, they put $1 in their retirement account, they put $1 in their pocket for the future. See, they paid themselves first. Now, we know the government's got to get their share, but they wanted to guarantee that their future self, that 20-year-old person who's taking care of their 50-year-old self. Now, I've known people, too, who have lived in poverty because they're taking care of their parents. They're taking care of their relatives. They're taking care of other people. But culturally, there's a mutually reciprocal relationship. A friend of mine from India, at his home, he has his aunt and uncle, his mom and dad, his wife, and her mom and dad. And he busts his ass every day to earn for these people. But they're not sitting at home and just milking the money. They're taking care of the home. They're taking care of children. They're taking care of a large garden, providing fresh vegetables. They're taking care of administrative tasks and laundry. And all he has to do is show up to work. Yet an outsider looks at that in their 25-bedroom house, or it's not a 25-bedroom house, but their house is pretty big. They look at that and they say, you live in a mansion. You have life so good. No, he is providing security for his family. He is providing security for his in-laws. And in return, they are providing comfort to him. See, your situation may be different, but the commonality is always the same, is that when you get a little bit ahead of everybody else puts out their hand and wants a little bit of it. That's extremely stressful. That's a high frustration. That is something that you are likely cognitively aware of. And if you're not, perhaps you should be, because the government wants to get paid. The political folks and the nonprofits and the advocacy groups, they want to get paid. But ultimately, if you do not pay yourself first, you won't even have the wealth of good knowledge. So let's get back to the individuals who were essentially living in poverty. They were living in poverty, buying clothes from Goodwill, buying used vehicles, living in a tiny house. But they weren't poor, by the way. They were earning far beyond their means. And when they were young, they invested every penny. It's like the Chinese family friend of mine. They live in the back of the Chinese restaurant. They have no home. They have no rent other than the rent for the store. They eat food from their own restaurant, and they essentially live in the back of the restaurant in bunk beds. It doesn't take very long of doing that before you can afford to buy investment real estate, and before you can buy luxury items that you were sending home for political reasons or for making good connections. They were eventually in a position where they had multiple homes, yet they never lived in any of their homes, by the way. They rented the homes out and amassed enough funds that they were able to send money back home to trusted family members who, again, bought additional properties, and in a period of 10 years built a fortune. Sure, they can go pay cash for houses and live in them if they want, but they'd rather pay cash for a house and then turn it into a cash flowing asset. Now, I don't know your situation. All I can share with you is the stories in proxy or in meta information of clients I've worked with over in the past. One business owner purposely paid himself $400 a month. He fixed his earnings on a monthly basis to the earnings of the entire corporation. The entire corporation made $441,000 a year for about 10 years, and he fixed the percentages. So his monthly payment was a percentage of the gross. And I said, look, how are you living on this? Now, he was very fixated with the connection because it's a very noble thing. However, how are you living on $400 and some a month? I found out his wife's paying the bills, and he's very ashamed of that because his wife wanted to retire years ago. Long story short, the goal is how do we get you to $10,000 a month? How do we get you to $20,000 a month? And we sat down and came up with a plan on how to develop the business so that it generated the revenue necessary so that he could feel good, okay, so he could feel right about his situation, so that he could provide financially at children that were going to go to college, provide financially for his children and for his family members. And how can he be in a position where he protects his future self? See, that is the wealth that I'm describing. Sustainable wealth is wealth that cannot be taken away. It's your ability to understand the marketplace and earn. It's your ability to even handle the criticism that you're going to receive. It's the ability for you to find opportunities to cash flow and to take that cash flow and transform it into assets that cash flow again. You might be feeling frustrated with what's going on with COVID. You might be feeling frustrated about the people around you or even the criticism that you receive being so-called wealthy. But you understand that if you have goals and objectives for your future, that the money you earn today isn't necessarily available to spend. Now, I can go into a couple scenarios where we talk about how to make the correction. So you're earning big money, you're frustrated, and you want to make that money go stronger so that you can build up wealth. One of the things that you can do, and it's very simple, you can use Quicken, QuickBooks, any type of accounting software, is that you can set up some financial goals in the future. Let's say you have a financial goal in the future of having $100,000 in cash, and say it's 12 months from now. You take the $100,000 and divide it by 12, and then that's how much money you put aside every month. And by the way, many of the sustainable wealth secrets are that easy. It's a matter of applying them when it's appropriate for your situation. But let's say you got $100,000 you want to have in cash. Divide it by 12, that's how much money you need to put aside each month. If you don't have that much money to put aside each month, you got a choice. You can either push the goal out, you can figure out a creative way to cover that cash need, you can find a creative way to cover your current income and grow your income or reduce your expenses, or you can do all of the above. Okay, you develop a plan, you write down the plan, you execute the plan, you monitor the plan, and after a period of time, you either have the goal or you don't have the goal. But you're no, because it's math. Because if you have a goal of 100,000, you can literally tick off or reduce the remaining goal amount. Okay, so it's a very simple concept. If you're busy doing this, by the way, then you don't need to worry about your brother-in-law, because your brother-in-law says, hey, I'd like to borrow $1,000. And you can say to your brother-in-law, you know what, I'd love to be able to loan you $1,000, but I have this goal that I need to make, or this objective that we're working on, and it's really, the money is accounted for. You can literally be in debt to your eyeballs while you're building assets. So debt that's leveraged in properties, the properties that cash flow above and beyond what the debt load is on the loan itself. And then ultimately you have a very tiny cash flow, and you conserve 100% of that reserve or that overage in order to fund future investments or future needs. It's a system. Now, to be fair, many of these systems are old hand to me, and I've interviewed hundreds of individuals who have provided me feedback about the systems they use. What I just described may not be 100% appropriate to you. But think about it. Rather than being frustrated, rather than having anxiety and fear, rather than having this constant pressure on you about how society feels about your money, you can start getting in touch with what your money actually is. Your money is a portable means to provide for your future self. And if we develop a plan and you focus on that plan, you're going to be so busy working on that plan and enjoying life and driving forward the opportunities and the outcomes you desire that it's really not going to matter what other people think. Now, you still need some asset protection. You still need to have the right people on your team, because you could have challenges with people trying to take that money. You do need the right tax strategy. But again, this is just a 15-minute podcast. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions or connect you with a certified financial planner, a state attorney, or someone else in my referral network who can be specific to your needs and considerations. This has primarily been about your mindset. You will not reach sustainable wealth if you've got these unnecessary worries and you don't have a plan. I can help you get there. I can help you focus in. Many of these sustainable wealth secrets, they're not secret, but again, outsiders may not understand them. Somebody's making below average income, they're not going to understand the concept of future self. They're struggling to take care of their current self. Now, it doesn't help that they've got cable TV and iTunes account and a big giant screen TV and a brand new car every year. But again, we're not here to judge. We're here to help you solve problems you face as far as wealth accumulation. And if you have any questions about that, you can visit me at www.sustainablewealthsecrets.com. I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. I'm here to help you transform the income you have into the future fortune you desire while creating for yourself a wealth that cannot be taken away. Thanks for listening.